call the meeting to order.
I think it's underneath.
Underneath the
Is it? Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the April 2025 meeting of the Houston County Historical Society. Thank you all for coming in, our visitors and our members. I have a sign-in sheet, if you would sign in please, so we can keep a record of our attendees. We'll start off by the pledge to the flag with Miss Betsy Ligon leading that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. The meeting minutes. Did everybody receive their minutes? Any problems with that? Any corrections? The only thing I had on there, and it's just, you know, I'm kind of
Go ahead, Betsy.
a picky, yes. Under my name, it had the original elementary school license for my grandmother, Mary Warden, and then it mentioned an original photo album including school photos from 1946. That was my aunt, Mildred Stanfield.
Oh,
Because, that's all I have. If there's no correction, we will deem the minutes approved. Treasurer's report.
We had income of $191.62 last month, some memberships, and some books. And we had an only expense was $32.90 for stamps and an eBay purchase. And so we have $1,465.83 in our money market checking account. We have $72.48 left in our eBay account. And the CD is unchanged at $11,160.03. But I have a bill that I need to get approval to pay, please. It's for our annual insurance. It's $446. That covers us for meeting time. It covers the camera. It covers the camera. So I'd like an approval to spend my money.
Is there a motion to?
I make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you.
You pay the bills.
Yeah, it's through Reynolds Insurance,
Okay.
so it's local. Okay.
All right. Well, thank
Thank
you. We approve all of that stuff. And any objections? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. As she mentioned, membership dues. They are $10 per household per year or $50 per household for a lifetime membership.
And I have a list if anybody's curious. I've got a list of
Who might be a lifetime member and not
who is the life. I have a list of lifetime members. Yeah, and the ones who pay for 25.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Our new business and our old business seem to be the same this time. The Korean and Vietnam Veterans Project. Jackie, do you have an update on that ongoing project?
Yes, we have been collecting information on both Vietnam and Korean War veterans. We're in the process of searching through the old newspapers for obits and information that was provided by the military of the soldiers and where they were at. So we've had quite a bit of luck there. And,
A lot more to go.
Yeah, a lot more to go.
Okay, well, thank you.
We have, Mitchell did an interview for us too.
Yes, and Mitchell did an interview for us. And
That's what I heard. Thank you, Mitchell.
If any of our veterans who are interested in doing that, we'd love to do that. We just need to set up a time.
And if you know of anybody that they don't have to be Houston County lifelong members, if they live in Houston County, they're Houston Countyans to me. And we will include them in our project. So if there's anything else, we will turn the program over to Melissa in the archives, or anything else you want to discuss?
Okay.
Okay, Melissa. It's up to you now. All right. I'm Melissa Barker. I'm the Houston County Archivist. And I try to bring y'all an update on what's been going on in the archives. We haven't, I haven't given an update since February, but we've gotten several records donations, which are always great. We received 5 photo albums that belonged to Evelyn Ellis, when her nickname was Nibs. They are photo albums from the Yellow Creek School class reunions from 1983 to 2006. There's some missing years in there. And so if you had an ancestor that went to Yellow Creek School, I don't know if these are a particular year that met a particular graduating class that met every year, or if it was open to anyone who went to school at Yellow Creek could come to the reunions. Okay. So the first, up until about 2001, the photographs are actual photographs. After 2001's, these are copies on copy paper of photographs. But we have them. And so if you have ancestors, you know, in 100 years, maybe someone doesn't have a photo of their ancestor and they can find it in there. So we had those. So I was really, really glad to get that. The next donation that I wanted to talk about, we got several, so I can't, you know, it's hard to tell you about all of them. So I kind of brought the major ones. The next one, I had 2 sisters donate some things, and you may know these sisters. One of them is actually a famous Hollywood actress, Susan and Cherry Jones. I hear Cherry Jones is a famous Hollywood actress. You may not know this. Her mother was born in Erin. Her mother's side of the family was the Traylor family, T-R-A-Y-L-O-R. And her great-grandfather worked for the railroad. So they donated, his name was William Leroy Traylor. And they donated this L&N Railroad ledger. And it dates from about 1902 to 1908. And it's his ledger from where he worked on the railroad. And so when you look in here, it says repair cattle guard on mile 229. Let's see here, a lot of repairing of cattle guards. Let's see, putting glass in the depot at, I can't read that, somewhere. Putting glass in the depot at Danville. That was in 1909. So it's really, really a great little, it's kind of falling apart a little bit, but it's a great little ledger book. They also donated a couple of photographs. They told me that their grandfather, and I never really got if it was on their mother's side or father's side, I'm going to say their mother's side, was a photographer. I don't know if he had a business or was a professional photographer, but he was a photographer. And he had lots of photographs. I have a feeling they're going to be back with more donations. They have a lot of things, and neither one of them have children. But anyway, they have lots of his photographs in negatives and photographs. Two of the photographs that they brought to me, they actually had made from a negative. And then Cherry had these framed in New York. She spends a lot of her time in New York. She's, like I said, she's a Hollywood actress. If any of you watched the show 24 back in the day, she was the female president on 24.
Keith Sutherland.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So anyway, so she had these framed in New York City. But they didn't know who these people were. And so when they brought these to me, I knew who this gentleman was only because I knew his story. And so here is the photograph. This is John W. Ross. He was born, John Wilson Ross. This picture of him was taken by their grandfather. And you can see it whenever we get done. But he's sitting here. And he has his hand on what looks like a huge rock. Sometime in that, I want to say it was in the 1920s or 30s. He died in 1943. He claims that this big rock is a meteor that landed on his farm in Houston County.
Now, I've had some of his family members tell me that it wasn't really a meteor, that it was just a big rock. So, but I don't know, you know, who knows? This photo actually was the photo that was published with his obituary in 1943. So they were, Susan and Cherry Jones were ecstatic to find out that I knew who this was, because they wanted to know who it was. So I was able to give them some information on it. The other photograph, they do not know who it is. I don't know who it is, and so I told them I would bring it. It's a lovely photograph, but I have no idea who these are. They're pretty sure they're a couple from Houston County. So, any of you know who this is, they would be ecstatic to know who it is. Isn't it a great photo? So,
I just showed you. That's the
so
picture
look
I
at it
just showed you.
closely after Betsy gets done, and you can tell who it is. The last thing I want to share
Maybe
is,
you put it in the paper.
yeah, I might do that. That's a good idea.
Okay, do you know who these people are?
The next thing I'm going to show you is something that I just got yesterday. And I have to keep my source a secret. But it's something that in 100 years, unless what Camden just told me is true, or happens, people are going to say, Cumberland City's steam plant, what was that? Because they're in the process of tearing it down. So, I was hoping, I have pieces from what they're tearing down. This is the part with the thread on it. And then I got another piece with the white on it. These are from the stacks that they're tearing down. And then I can say this, the mayor says he has 2 more pieces with red on it. And a piece of rebar.
Wow.
So this stuff was installed in 1968 when they built the Cumberland Steam Plant. And so I had people that worked there. I said, as you're tearing it down, what are they doing with it all? They're just throwing it out, getting rid of it. I said, can you please get me some pieces for the archives? Because like I said, in 100 years, if it's gone, nobody's going to remember it, nobody's going to know, and when they see this, we'll have it on display. So I just got this yesterday, so I was kind of excited about that. And it's very, very heavy.
Melissa, a little side note.
Yes.
My father worked for a company called Marquette Cement, and he's the one actually that sold all of the concrete, all the towers and everything, and all the concrete that's in the plant over there.
Well, I talked to
Can you
Mayor.
get a copy of the invoice?
Oh, it was a bid situation, and I remember coming down with him when I was 10, 11 years old when they were building it, you know.
Yeah.
And I had my own little hard hat for us to get in the plant, you know, to watch them build it.
Well, if any of you have any memorabilia or anything having to do with the Cumberland City Steam Plant and you're willing to donate it, it's something that we do need to preserve and hang on to, because when it's gone, it's gone. But also, I was talking to Mayor Brett today, and he said he went over there the other day and was just sitting and watching them work. And he said to watch them and how they're tearing it down. There's a man on the top of the stacks, and he has a jackhammer. And he's going around jackhammering, and then as pieces are jackhammered off, it's falling in the middle. And I thought I would not want that job.
Wow.
So that's how they're, because it's not bricks, it's not, you know, bricks or blocks, it's concrete.
Yeah. Well, interviewing him would be a
Oh,
really
yeah, that'd be
interesting
cute.
video
Yeah.
archive,
Yeah.
telling his story, remembering his dad bidding on that
Oh,
concrete.
yeah.
and
There's a
his
lot of
hard hat.
stories from
I mean, that would be an
plant.
interesting video archive for you
So-
remembering
So
that.
that's what we've got going on in the archives, some great donations. Like I said, they're coming in, I mean, they're bringing in, Sheila Blevins actually donated her weekly readers from when she was in school from the 1950s and 60s. Any of y'all remember doing weekly readers when you were in school? She asked me, says, do you want them? And I'm like, Yeah, because what if I want to show the kids or something, you know, so just a little small thing of them. So we've been really getting some great things. People are cleaning out attics and basements and all kinds of things and bringing it to us. And they come in and they say, I don't know if you want this, but here you go. A lady brought in a 1953 yearbook from the Yellow Creek School. And so we're just grateful people are really thinking of us and bringing things in. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Betsy. And I'm so glad that she's doing this presentation because now I get to know about her history and how she became Betsy Ligon. So Betsy Ligon, who is the first, I think only, female mayor of Erin. Please give her a round of applause as she comes.
Well, that was 46 years ago. I was 32. Doug and I, had moved to Erin, and I wanted to get involved. I had young kids. I wanted to get involved with the community, but I really wanted to be on the school board, but there wasn't any opening. So somebody said, run for city council. I said, okay. So I ran and was elected as alderman for Ward 2. Carl Taylor was the mayor. It was elected in, November of 1978. And he appointed me as vice mayor. And then the next year, April 20th of 79, Carl passed away. So I was totally green. I barely knew what the city was doing. So I had a lot to learn and very quick. 3 days after Carl's death, I was sworn in like at 8:30 in the morning. I had to go back through minutes to find out what I did. The first week, speaking of the first woman mayor, I had a reporter from the Leaf Chronicle come down and wanted to interview me, and I said, okay. And his first question is, where are you going to plant flowers? Because that's what women do. And I just looked at him and I said, I think it's more important to supply fresh water and handle the water system in the sewer for and supply our customers. I said, I'll get around to flowers later. I don't remember anything else about that interview, but it did happen, and it was a learning process. And one of the first things I did was I went to the water plant and had just a personal tour, and the guys working there showed me exactly what they did, how the plant operated, what chemicals, what their needs were. And then I did that for the sewer plant. And I remember it was Philip Baggett who was working at the sewer plant then. And he said, I've never had a mayor come out here, ever. And I toured it and climbed up and saw everything, the tank. But it was instructional for me because I sort of learned what their needs were. I had to go back through minutes to actually understand that first term, what I did. And it was very routine. I don't think there was anything real exciting, fixing water lines. There was a couple of bridges we worked on. One was replacing the Maple Street Bridge, and then a little later on, this bridge got replaced up near the post office. But it was just really routine maintenance stuff on the city. And so I finished out his term, and then I just went back, I just ran for city council again. So I was elected again to alderman for Ward 2. Kirkendall became mayor, and talking about the property back here, Mr. Kirkendall he secured the land back here from the railroad yard and the railroad track through Erin for the city of Erin. Bought it for just very little, mostly took it over. But I wanted to get into it, actually, then Mr. Kirkendall died. And but Arkley Elliott was the vice mayor. He did not want to, it scared him. He said, I'm just too scared to do this. I don't think I can do this. So we talked to the city attorneys, and they said the only way, nobody else wanted to do it. So I said, okay, I'll finish this one out. City attorney recommended that Arkley appoint me as vice mayor. This was all done in one meeting. It was really strange. So Arkley appointed me as vice mayor, and then he immediately resigned. I was then sworn in as mayor, and then I appointed Arkley back on the council. It's what he wanted to do. I mean, it was totally strange, but that's what the attorneys recommended. They didn't know how else to handle it. But at this point, I sort of knew what the city did, and that's when I'd read something on rails to trails. Well, I was just going because there were some controversies too. And let's just bring up the, turn off the lights.
Yeah, 1 second.
I was a lot more creative than the second time. This one, I totally ran meetings different. I really created the committees. So we had police committee, we had water and sewer, and then we had a gas line. We had natural gas then. So we had committees, and they were very active committees. And they sort of decided what they thought needed to be done. I'll read this to you because I know it's hard to read. But the police committee realized that our police department was, everyone had a different weapon. And that meant supplies of the ammunition was totally different. And where they got their weapons is what they confiscated from the crooks. So they weren't in good, these weapons weren't in good shape. This is running on a really tight budget here. Yeah. So the police committee decided they were going to get, the police wanted Glocks. So we ordered the Glocks, but then the police committee decided that they wanted to be reserve officers and just ride with the police. So Gary Taylor, Lewis Moore, Brian Largent, and myself, we got a Glock also. We paid for our own, but we had to go through the full process of the mental, what do you call that, exam, and all the training. And so when we got our Glocks, we had at the firing range, somehow Channel 5 found out about it, and they came and filmed the shooting, I mean the target practice. And lo and behold, I remember very vividly when I was shooting, the camera was right here. And I said, this is not safe. And they said, just go with it. So I shot, that ended up on the news in Knoxville, Tennessee, where I have some good friends, and I got all kinds of calls. But the newspaper here, it was M.J. McMillan and Gene Nosetti, they thought that was the worst thing that had ever happened, that a woman should not have a gun. And they wrote several articles and letters, you know, that they put in the paper criticizing the fact that I had a gun. And that's where I have no idea who wrote this poem, but here it is, called The Ballad to Betsy. Well, you saw the story of that Erin place the other day when the news team came to town to play. It was a one-sided story, I'm here to say, that a well-armed mayor keeps crime at bay. Now, Erin's got a mayor named Betsy Ligon. She packs a rod, and it's a big one. For gun control, she has these plans: elbows locked and use both hands. All of the crooks, you better beware of this cute little gal with the long blonde hair, because she has law and order goals to blow you full of smoking holes. Now, we all like Betsy, and this was fun. there's nothing wrong with packing a gun. If everybody had one on their hip, I bet more folks would watch their lip. The high crime rate would drop like a rock. It's all good, folks. If all good folks would carry a Glock. And last of all, I'd like to state, no one ever raped a 38. I have no idea to this day. This showed up in my office.
That's got to be Miss Betty.
That's what I thought too. But Betty's girls brought to the archives every poem she ever wrote, and that was not in there. So that's
Sounds like her.
yeah. So that's not. So I still don't know who it is. And when whoever this is published that in the newspaper, the criticism totally stopped.
That's right.
So that was sort of a funny thing. Now, one of my big plans for being mayor that second time was I'd read something on rails to trails. And we talked to all the state people. We had a really good relationship with the state people and planning, and you know, I told them what I wanted to do. I said, we've got this land. It's really this back in back. You could go on this so I can show you what it looked like. This was behind City Hall, and just go on through several of these. Yeah, the rail's been taken out about 15 years before this. So it's just grass and, now right here, down, let me get this thing on. What's it? There we go. This was a rim of the turnaround area. That's all it showed. Nobody knew really what it was. So, I thought we ought to excavate it and see. Okay, we can go on. It's because this will just go. So this is when the excavation started. And we really got so much help. Let me just tell you that we got 3 different grants, big grants on this. We were able to get national park money, is in the park. We got forestry money, that's in the park. And we got transportation money. It's alternate transportation.
Yeah.
We got creative with our with our terminology. But the folks in Nashville asked me to just write down what my plans were and for thoughts on it. So I did, and they sort of used that then to write up how they wanted the grant worded. So it was very customized to what we wanted to do. Yeah, so this is some of the city workers digging that out, the turnaround. And it turned out it went down at least 10 feet. I mean, it was deep. Yeah, and so that was too dangerous to leave open. So we filled it partially back in and put some steps down. And then, so you can see all their equipment too. Let me just tell you, to match our grants had a matching. But I went door to door on businesses to get sponsors to help with this matching. And I went through, and people were extremely generous. I don't have the list of who donated money, but I just remember that one businessman said, well, if you could reach this certain level, then I'll contribute. But if you can't reach it, I'm not. I said, okay. And as I walked out the door, I smiled because I'd already gone past that. so you know, I waited a week and went back and said, oh, got it. And I showed him how much. He said, okay. But it's not only financial contributions. When we did the pedestrian bridge, it was built by city employees, but with totally donated lumber. Palmore Construction donated $5,000 of heavy equipment for all the grading. And they did, they brought in dirt and smoothed it, because so much of that was just black cinder too, as the ground. You'd get a dust storm and it'd be black everywhere. So Mayor Kirkendall had contacted, when he secured that land, he had contacted L&N about getting that caboose. So we were finally able to get it in, but he actually did the work ahead of time to get that. We went and got the red boxcar, the blue boxcar later, but Kirkendall was able to get this secured. And it's really interesting when we saw when they brought it in on a truck. They got it off and put it on some rails, and they welded the wheels to the rails, and that way they could tie equipment to it and pull it into place. Yeah. Otherwise, it was difficult. There wasn't, tracks for it to roll around on. So that's how they got that in place. Let me see, who else? A company called Odd Jobs Company donated $2,500 in labor for potential landscaping when we were ready to do that. The city of Erin did all the gravel and paved the site for the parking lot and installed the culverts at the front of the property. And then there were various other groups that just volunteered time to help clean up, to help with the landscaping. I remember the fire department, once we got trees planted, they watered it week after week after week to keep all those trees alive through the summer. So let's just go on through the pictures. So this is the pavilion, Bledsoe Hires, and I don't know what their last name. Anyway, it was our engineering firm designed this because we wanted it to look like an antique.
Train stop. No?
Yeah, but, and the railroad baggage wagon, I found at a antique store in Waverly, so I bought that and donated it. So that was the one, well, I guess I don't know where they put it. It was out here for a while with decorations on it. The sign, the Erin sign, Melissa, do you have that?
Yeah.
It was here at City, the
I'd
original.
love to have it, because I got the Stewart sign.
Okay.
Stewart
The
did my
original
sign.
was here, and so we copied it, both ends of the pavilion, but it's identical match to the original sign. And if you don't know, this location is not where the train station was. I'm reading that it was really a little bit farther down, right across from where Paul's Pizza was. If y'all correct me if I'm wrong. And then there was a hotel towards the front.
They
So
built
That
in-
picture on the right.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, and that was, the depot was built in 1904. I just recently found newspaper articles that says that the hotel, which we knew had been moved to Main Street,
Yeah.
but in 1904, it was moved from where the depot was built to there. And then they built the depot. I just
Okay.
recently found newspaper articles talking
Okay.
about that.
So it resembled it, but it's not exactly location, so, but it's the property we had. So there's water fountains, there's the two train cars, and then I think was the next, yeah, there we go. These railroad crossing signs, there is no track, remember? And we borrowed those from Cumberland City. Because Frank Staley and I and a couple of guys borrowed them from them, because they closed the train track up there too, so we just borrowed them. And they actually were working, and we had on time to go off at noon. Ding, 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 ding. And people, co-op was back there.
Yeah.
Well, people drive up, they see that, and they stop, and they look down the walkway. And then they realized there was no track. So drove on. But, yeah, so that's our, and so the timing got off on it. It wasn't quite at noon anymore, so we just went on and turned it off. But it would work again if somebody wanted it to. So, okay, let's go. Now this is the bridge that the city employees built, and that was donated materials for that. And then the city, we ordered the playground equipment, and now Paul has gotten special needs equipment now, so we're finally have some ADA compliant And this is the guys putting, the city and volunteers putting things together at the playground. That's what we did with the turnaround. To keep it from being quite so dangerous, we put these briar-type sticky bushes, so they've gotten big enough that you don't go through it, you'll go down the steps. And the steps, I can't remember where we got the extra stones here to make a step, but the guys knew where, and they got permission to bring them in both sides. So, this is kids playing on the railroad property, the railroad baggage wagon. Oh, with all the trees, on the tree grant, it was the forestry grant we got. It paid for all the trees that line the walkway. There's Bradford pear, there's cherry trees, there's some burning bushes, maple trees that line the parkway. And because of that, we planted so much, we became eligible to be, we applied for a Tree City designation. And that included, we had to have an Arbor Day. And so we celebrated Arbor Day. And the second year, we actually included Arbor Day into Irish Day. But it met the qualifications, so we were designated a Tree City for 2 years. And then we kind of let the qualifications slide. But along with being a Tree City, and most people don't realize it, that just past the playground, right next to the blue house that's like Elm Street, there's only one blue house. Right next to that is an area called a bird sanctuary, and it's got a bird bath, and it had some bird houses, but it looks like trees that have fallen. The city's going to have to do some maintenance and get those back up. But some limbs fell over and they're down under the limbs. But that was named for Frank Staley, so it's the Frank Staley Bird Sanctuary. So that's down there. Of course, this year, now this is and I can't read it. It's in the, let me see if I can get up there and read it. This is from a little young man that just in school. Said, "Dear Mayor Ligon, we love you very much because you are our favorite mayor. Thank you for making sure that you have checked our laws today. We are glad that you love us too much. I know you do because you do a very good job." And that was James Brady, Jr., the third, I can't remember it. The original letters in the scrapbook. And then his mother wrote a letter also that's in the scrapbook that said he had been studying government in whatever grade he was in, and she suggested that he write a letter. So that's where that one came from. Okay, all right, on the pavilion, or in the pavilion, is the memorial for the railroad workers. I have it printed out, and it also has a section that talks about the mayors and aldermen who have worked on the park. But the actual memorial pictures are here, and it has listed every railroad worker that has worked on the Erin Railroad, and a map of it too. So if you go on, we'll get, this is the park dedication was, seems like it's October 94. There it is, okay. October 16th, 94. So the program is over there. We've got several programs saved. And Ira Bell spoke. Ira had worked on the railroad 49 years. His family, his father and grandfather, they have a total of 200 years of working for the railroad within that family. But he talked about the turnaround area also, and he said the guys working on the railroad just had the kids would come, high school kids, and they said, "Oh, y'all aren't strong enough to do this." They had to get under the train and hand turn it. This is the hill, what they call the hillbilly engine. The slope up to Tennessee Ridge is so steep. Some of the trains were so heavy, it actually took multiple engines to push it up the hill. But this hillbilly engine was here and helped push it up the hill. But to turn it around, you had to get in that 10-foot pit and hand turn it. So the guys would tell the high school kids, oh, y'all aren't strong enough. So they said, yeah, we are. And they'd jump in there and they'd do the work. And they said they did that over and over again. They could con another group into doing it. Also, another thing on the train, another funny story that Bill Simpson told me. He said as kids, they would, at Halloween, they would grease the tracks so that the engine in the train would slip. And they get so mad and they chase them and they just ran. But they grease it. He said every year they try that. So, yeah, then the park was dedicated. Linda Bracci is the one who, she was a city recorder. She kept that scrapbook, and it's all the pictures and a lot more that are in that scrapbook that documents the process of the park and just other things. Let's see, after fulfilling Kirkendall's term, I actually ran for mayor, and my election certificate for mayor is actually in there too. So I really did win that. After that, I think I lost to Fred Finley by 2 votes. So I was off that term, and then I came back on as alderman, and that's where I've been since then, in Ward 2. So I've been on the council, roughly 40 years altogether in some form. And lo and behold, I'm vice mayor again. I'm always younger. So, let's see what else we got. Yeah, so this starts a celebration. It was really quite a big celebration to open and dedicate the park. So there's Fred over here. Several all of the state dignitaries that helped us get grants came. We had clowns, we had the high school band. It was I don't know where the clowns came from, but I think they came off. Some of them came from Stewart County because they have a clown group in the Shriners. So yeah, there's a lot of kids had dancing and music. It's a big deal. And if you don't recognize some of those kids, I don't know who they are. Of course, they're grown up now. Yeah, so. So that's the memorial. The pictures are there, and you can read that's inside the pavilion. And yeah, we have all that documented over there. So the other main thing, that was a fun project to do. But mainly we worked with county mayor to extend water lines. I mean, there was quite a number of areas of the county that did not have water lines. And so GE would get the grants. It'd be an 80-20 grant, and the county got the 80. And city got the 20%, which we were glad to take because then it was turned over to us as part of the water system now. So, I mean, that's pretty much extended, I think, area. There's not many areas that don't have city water of some type, at least on this end of the county. So, and we're getting ready to expand the water system because we have a commercial customer that's going to need more water, so we're going to add bigger pipes and stuff. So, this continues on. So, any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you have to tell us, how did it become known as the Ligon Park?
I actually was going to call it the Erin Greenway Park. And the council, Gary Taylor made the motion, and it just took me off guard.
What did you think of that?
It just like, it feels really funny. And that's another story. I was getting pizza you know, a few years ago while Paul was over here and I ordered, and he said, "What's your name?" I said, "Betsy Ligon," and this kid looks at me, he's like the park. And I said, "Yes." He said, "I thought you were dead." And I go, "Not yet." So, yeah, you know, of course
my
we did.
pizza's free.
But of course, we did then the renovation, and there's actually, I think Betty did do a write-up of the renovation. I think that's Betty's form over there. She said began the renovation of Erin, and then the project for the, out front, the pavilion, the square, and redoing the park entrance so that it all is just one view straight through. That was not under my terms, that was, later, but Betty references that is the renovation of the downtown Erin and, and upgrading the looks of it, and so.
Well, you were true to your word, though. You told that reporter that the flowers would come down.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So, any others? That's so.
I want to tell one quick story, probably of the most courageous thing you ever did, that I had anything to do with, and probably the dumbest thing you ever did. Because you went along with me. I was a brand new assistant DA, and the police department had done a raid on the Black American Legion Hall in Erin, and had got some whiskey out of it. Allegedly there was whiskey being sold in it. I don't know how shocking that is. And so I had filed a motion on my own as assistant DA to try to revoke the beer license of Clarence Hall's, the American Legion Hall. And I went down that night to the city council to advance that cause. They put it right at the very end, and when they brought it up, I needed somebody to make a motion so that they could take it up. And it needed a motion and a second. Well, the mayor, because nobody else would do it, made a motion to move forward. And there was no second. And it died for a lack of second. Now, you think that's not embarrassing, because Webb Mitchell, my uncle, and my aunt were both on the city council. And none of them were brave enough to do it. And so it failed for a lack. And it was a good thing for me, because if I'd accomplished that, I probably would have never been elected to anything in the future.
Well, the interesting thing, if I made the motion, technically, the mayor, the mayor really doesn't have the powers in the council, because the mayor is not supposed to make a motion, and the mayor doesn't vote except to break a tie. So, with 8 council members,
After I calmed down, I went to Uncle Webb, and I said, "Uncle Webb," I said, "why didn't you second Betsy's motion?" He said, "And this is not meant to be any off color." Because Webb wouldn't say. Webb said, "Well, Dan," he said, "where are those people going to go drink a beer?"
I do not remember that at all.
So we had a lot of common sense about all that. That was one thing that I failed to accomplish, and it's a good thing.
I never got any flack over that. I
You were the
really
only one
didn't.
that stood by me on it. So I'll never forget that.
No, there's other things you get criticized for. I remember we did have some flooding from hurricanes during that first term, and so we were able to get in the creek and clear out brush and stuff then. You can't do that so easily now. But there was one lady, and I don't remember her name, lived behind what's now the middle school, and we were rip-rapping at a bridge, and the guys rip-rapped over across from her, and I got this angry call that they had rip-rapped the wrong side of the creek first, and then she wanted it moved over to her side, and then they could do the other side. And it's just like, you just shake your head. It's really, so anyway, there's a lot of funny things. I think you remember the funny stuff more than
You do.
the routine stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. Take a look at the stuff over here, and if anybody can identify who wrote the Ballad of Betsy, I'd like to know.
I like that.
I'll put this stuff over there.
Thank you all for attending. Next month's meeting, May 13th, 2025 at 7 o'clock here at City Hall, Stephen Black with the American Chestnut. We have two months open, September and October. One, we probably have a candidate for, I won't say yet because he hasn't committed completely. And Jackie Donald will check on him.
I was gonna try to get somebody to come talk about TVA and just sort of split, so
Well,
I'll work on that.
That would be a good one for Stewart and Houston to have together, since it is technically in Stewart County and us, so. I mean, we have.
Next year.
Yeah, next year, put a bug in their ear, and, you know, it'll be a whole lot different story then, won't it?
Oh, we can.
But I thank you all for coming. We have September and October available, so see you next month in May, and thank you all for attending.